The following is intended only for mature audiences. Always consult legal and medical professionals when needed. Viewer discretion is advised. Good evening and welcome back to another edition of Terra Turas. This evening, a couple of quick things. Here this evening, we have Kelly Hurst in the upper left-hand side. We have myself in the upper right. New to the show this evening, and her first time is Stephanie in the lower left-hand corner. And in the bottom right-hand corner, Reverend Pat Beers. How are all of you doing this evening?
Great.
I'm good.
Awesome.
See, now I do that because now I know everybody has their audio and everything is wonderful on that end, right?
Right. Yep.
Quick shout to Lisa Fry, who is another new member. She's going to be joining us in a few weeks. Lisa reached out to some people that she knew, and just like that, we were over the top for subscribers for our YouTube page, which is awesome because that allowed us to name the show on YouTube. And I'm really, really thankful. I appreciate that more than I could really tell anybody. This evening, we have a topic that is going to be extremely interesting, especially for me, because I don't know much about it. I keep hearing Pat talk about it all the time, and the topic is Spirit Circle. And what I'm interested in is finding out not only how it works, what goes on the inside, what are some of the mechanics of it. And this evening, if you have ever heard Pat talk about the Spirit Circles previous to now, you've always heard that she goes to one and it's held, I believe you said once a month, Pat, or once?
Once a month. Second Tuesday.
And she is always referencing, but I never think to ask more about it. Well, this evening, Stephanie is the one that holds that Spirit Circle once every month. So, accordingly, what I'm going to do, Stephanie, I'm going to start right off with you and ask, what is a Spirit Circle?
Excuse me. Spirit Circle is actually it's a gathering of mediums, psychics, people that want to develop their intuitive psychic side, maybe developing their mediumship. And a lot of people would call it, oh, it's a seance. No, it is not a seance. Some people would like to deem it that, but it's not. So basically what it is it's an opening of the circle, and I call in the 4 archangels of the cardinal directions. I have them come in, and we call in our ancestors, our elders, our guides, angels, teachers, and what it is the collective consciousness of everyone sitting at the table, and spirit comes to us. And a lot of times what they are is they're spirits that have not crossed over, to put in another term. So probably earthbound spirits. And a lot of times what we do is they may be seeking help. They see our light, that collective consciousness around the table. They see our light, they become curious, they step in, and we start getting, parts of the puzzle. So somebody may be getting a picture, somebody may be getting a name, somebody may be getting a sense of smell or a sense of how they passed, and then it starts a conversation. And what it is we have a conversation with that spirit, and we let them know why we're there, We also we let them talk. They have free will, just like they were when they were human. They have free will. We don't force anything upon them. We explain why we're there, what we're there for. We explain to them about their divine self, their divine spirit, their spark, their light that is within. And we help them find that light. And when they're ready to, for another term, cross over or go to the other side, to transition to the other side, that's what we do. We give them that avenue. We help them. And that's basically what it is. We don't force them. We don't try to impose our will upon them.
Mm-hmm.
We just have a conversation.
Now let me ask, when, and these are some things that I know, but I know that people that are watching are going to be listening to the podcast later. When you say that you call these spirits in, two things. Can you tell me what you mean by doing so?
I don't call them in. They show up.
Okay.
We don't have to call in anybody. We wind up sitting there and we might get a name.
Okay.
Or somebody gets a feeling. Then we get a name. Or we see someone behind another person. We see, we sense female energy. So there might be a female. She may be dressed in a long gown or a dress. We've had spirits come from way back to the 1600s to, the 90s. It's just a broad spectrum. There's no one, I'm not summoning.
Right.
Anyone.
And that's
they
what...
come on their own accord.
You call in archangels, though, correct?
Yes.
Okay. I think that's what I was more leaning into, is when you call spirits in, you're asking them to come and sit to buffer, as in...
Well, actually, what I do is I welcome the archangels in,
Mm-hmm.
And I ask for their presence, their angelic presence there. We do a little bit of a meditation to kind of get everybody in the mood, in, getting their mind quieted, then I call the archangels. I open up the circle. We do a protection of white light, the unity prayer. Everything's done as far as opening and making things a safe place.
And I know that is massively important. I'm
sitting at the table.
I'm working with new stuff, and I apologize for everybody if there is stuff that comes across and making extra audio. It's my fault. It's happening. The consequential things that I kind of think of. You say safe space. How safe? And I'm not asking that as a derogatory, because I need people to understand what you're actually creating and dealing with at this point.
Well, I want people there to be comfortable, on both sides of the fence, so to speak.
Mm-hmm.
That, we're not there to force anything, but I want people that have sat down, that they know that they are in a good space. We have called the angels in. We have called, we have asked for their guides, their angels, teachers, ancestors, elders, to make it a comfortable space. I don't know how else to put it as being safe, using the white light, using some protection, just to make people comfortable. And it's all about that intent of having that comfortable space.
And by that, you are saying any spiritual being that is going to come into the circle, that they know that it is safe, comfortable, and okay, theoretically,
yes.
to be there.
Now we've had some nasty ones that have stepped in, and we just talk to them. I mean, it's I'm not going to say unadulterated evil, but I'm just saying probably, somebody that wasn't a very nice person on this side of the veil. A lot of times you get people that, or a spirit that is just, they condemn themselves. You know what I'm saying? They've condemned themselves for maybe the things that they've done here, that they're not feeling worthy. And a lot of it has to do with self-worth. They don't feel worthy. They put themselves in that frame of their own, quote, hell, or put themselves in that place where they know that that's where they're safe. It's their safe space, even though they know there's something more, but they don't know how to get to that other place.
Right.
They feel that they're not worthy to get there.
I'm going to switch over. Pat, I know that, well, first let me ask, Pat, how long have you been going and being part of the Spirit Circle there?
I don't know, Steph, how long? We started out in the basement at the Cuyahoga Falls Library, then we went to the Stowe Library.
Yeah, and I actually started at the Cuyahoga Falls Library, and then we went to the Stowe Library.
Yeah. Wow.
4 or 5 years.
So I think you've been coming there, what, a couple years, 3 years?
I would say at least.
Off and on?
Yeah, as often as I could get there, yeah.
Pat, when you turn around and you are working in the circle, I've worked with you at many different fairs. I know you almost as well as the back of my own hand, like family. How does that feel, being connected with other readers, other mediums, as compared to when you work just by yourself?
It's a family. It's all-inclusive. They understand. I don't have to explain what I'm doing or why I'm doing or how I'm doing. And it's just so much easier. Because yourself sometimes will read for someone and a relative will stop forward and maybe you need that person's forgiveness, and these folks understand that. And that's the problem most of these people have, that don't go into the light. Because a couple years ago, we get a lot of soldiers. In one night, Steph, we had a samurai. We had the mothers of the Russian sub, the first atomic sub that come back up. We had Vietnam vets. We had Pearl Harbor. We had, you name it. And then there are nights when the drug thing was so bad in Akron, we had a lot of people who overdosed on drugs and were sure they were condemned to hell and were terrified to cross over. And Steph just says, forgive yourself. It's okay. That will stay here. When you leave, you do not take that to the other side. It's all love. It's all inclusive. Everybody, it's not going to be like you're creating this fear in yourself here. So we just never know.
When you are... Okay, I'm going to ask, and both of you will probably chime in. When you connect and are connected with various other people, I'm going to assume, because I've never done anything like that, I'm going to assume you can feel the energetic connection between all of you. Would that be true?
I would
Absolutely.
say yes. Mm-hmm.
Everybody may see something different or experience something different in this circle. Is that true?
Yes.
True.
Is it then becoming a collaborative mediumship, if I could put it that way?
Yes, it's the collective consciousness of everyone there.
See, and that's what makes it different, or for me to look at it in that fashion, because I don't even know how to phrase it. Do you ever, once someone has mentioned something, or even as they are about to, do you ever see or feel what they are going to say before they say it? Because you're connected?
Sometimes.
Yes.
Sometimes.
A lot of times, yes.
and it's fun, Michael, to watch the newbies, the people who come because either they're concerned about a loved one who hasn't passed, they have this feeling that this is something they'd like to be part of. They've never done it. They don't know what's going on, but they're not there. What 10 minutes, Stephanie, until they're a part of all of us. I mean, it's so inclusive that they just step into it and they're doing it, and sometimes I think it surprises them that they're able to connect so well when they really have no clue what the heck they're doing or how they got there. They just know they needed to come, somebody told them about it, or they're worried about a loved one or friend, and it just, you know how our family is. I mean, we're family. There's no other way to describe it.
For the people that are catching us up or catching up with us, either on Facebook Live or we're also now on YouTube Live as well, if you have any questions, throw them into the chat room and I'll try to make sure that we get those answered. And Kelly, I'm going to turn this over to you for a second. What kind of questions do you have that you might ask either Stephanie or Pat?
So many. Last time I was actually at a spirit circle was probably 15 years ago, so my memory's a little hazy. And at the time, I think there were only maybe 7 people at the place that I was at. I guess my question would be, do you almost feel in a sense that you're taking a test of your mediumship at that point? You know, like, how are you right? You know, if someone else is saying the same thing, do you feel that, you know, it's, if someone else can validate, I guess, what you're hearing, does that make you feel like, oh, I am, you know, I'm not crazy, I'm actually hearing and seeing?
For those of us like Stephanie and I who have been doing it forever, I mean, it's just part of us. For new people, I think, yes, that's very much true. Wouldn't you say, Steph, that they get confirmation of what they're seeing, feeling, hearing, smelling?
Right. And it's amazing because, you know, I've been doing this now for probably about 8 years, and just the different ones that have come, to see them develop and grow and learning to trust their mediumship or their abilities, and confidence in themselves. Not just, I'm not going to just say mediumship, but I would say just confidence in themselves and how they carry themselves. You know, that they, you know, it helps them improve all over, not just, you know, staying in the box of, you know, psychic and mediumship abilities. It's carrying them through to make them feel like, you know, they're validated, and, you know, that they feel more comfortable, more self-assured about being able to step out and say, you know, yes, I can do this. It's just been amazing to see how some people, you know, and myself develop. You know, I look at it like this, you know, I've been doing this, but, you know, I learn so much more every time I do it. I swear to God, every time I do it, there's something new, something different, something that's validating. There's something more that I learned from spirit. I learned from them, you know, where I can develop more or to be able to help them more. Like I said, what's really interesting is we have some guardians, we've had gatekeepers, we have other, one of the mediums that she comes every once in a while, her son comes, her son that had passed from a drug overdose. He's there, and he brings people to us. We can sense when Joe comes in.
Wow.
And, you know, and he brings people to us. And a lot of times, there's times where we will ask the angels, you know, Archangel Raphael or Michael, you know, to assist in helping us talk with that spirit, or assisting them into, you know, leaving with them, where they feel that they're, you know, they're with an angel, they feel trusted, that they can go there and that they're going to be escorted, or, you know, within a blink of an eye, poof, they're over there, wherever there is.
Right.
You know, But I mean, it's just, you just see so many people thrive and grow in so many other ways besides their mediumship.
Well, Kelly and Michael, think about it when the first time a loved one came to you and you're like, I think that's so-and-so, but am I imagining this or is this really happening? And then when it dawns on you that they do something or say something that allows you to know that it truly is them, it's that feeling. Mm-hmm. And I think sometimes some of these spirits come just out of curiosity. They see the light and they will ask us, what are you guys doing?
Yeah.
Right?
See, now, Pat, for me, you say that, and I laugh because I can understand where you're coming from. But this happened when I was 5, so 46 years ago. I knew it was real because I was speaking with them. You know, you're at a funeral, and here comes not only the person that is deceased, and there's someone else that you know, and you're having a conversation with them. And the rest of the family is looking at me like I have absolutely lost my mind.
You got it.
Until they stop and say, who are you talking to? And I would tell them. And then, now, you go back 46 years and you're talking about being in a church, speaking with spiritual people. You know what happened after that.
It hit the fan.
Big time.
Don't you ever do that again.
I got in so much trouble.
That too.
I did. I got in so much trouble because, well, that's not, you're just lying. You're making this up. Really? I wish some of my family were around now because I would go, what do you think about that? But it's the point that so much of it is we take it as commonplace.
Yes.
Or that it happens so frequently in our lives that we just assume, we work with it, gather it in, and off we go. Mm-hmm. But like you said, Pat, for all of these people that may be watching or listening, or this is brand new to them, and it might scare the hell out of them.
Well, and they may have dreams too and have visitations, if you will, but they're thinking they're dreams. And it's just the same thing. We're not asleep. We are awake while this is going on. We're perfectly aware of what's happening.
Mm-hmm.
And another thing that I would like to point out too is, there's never a set people that come in. So we may have 4 people some night. We may have 10 people.
Okay, hold on. Define, are you saying people as in you and I? There would be 4 physical people or 4 spiritual beings?
Yeah, so there's no set, whoever wants to come, just comes.
Okay.
And I just lost my train of thought.
That's okay.
No, I hate it when that happens.
But you were saying that you have 4 people, you might have 10 people that might stop in to take part of the circle for the week?
Right, and they may show up, but the thing of it is it's not...
Never the same.
No, it isn't. It's never the same thing. So, and what I wanted to say too is, everybody's frequency and vibration is different. So there might be somebody there that I don't connect with at all. Mm-hmm. And, I just don't get a feel for them. Or somebody else says, don't you feel this? Don't you feel... Nope, sorry. So I let that person, connect with that spirit and let them have a conversation. I might be able to pick up bits and pieces, but they're more attuned to that person that they are connecting with. And, so it's like, people go, well, you're a medium and you do this and you do that. Well, no, that's not how it works, at least for me. Mm-hmm. Everything is different. It's a vibrational frequency. You just can't tap into everybody. And at least for me.
I think all of us.
Do you find that to be true also? Pat, Kelly?
I only have one other question that I was thinking of just now because I was fascinated by the different dynamics of the different people, and I was just wondering, what is the most profound or amazing experience that you guys have had in Spirit Circle?
Go ahead.
That was the night when we were in Cuyahoga Falls Library. We were in the basement, woo, and we had a group from an Amish church from the 1800s.
Wow.
Yes.
That lantern had fallen over during their service, and the place just you know, and we got the women on one side and the men on the other side, and he talked in thee and thou, wasn't it, Steph?
Yes.
We had a hard time understanding him because I would assume that they were probably German,
Yes,
or whatever, and we were not talking the same English that he was talking, so we had to kind of, everybody, you know, what are you feeling about this? That was one of the most fast, and the other one for me was the samurai.
yeah,
Samurai, the same night, the mothers from the Russian sub that came to us as a group and asked us to please return their sons to them.
yes.
Wow.
We've had, you know, people want to. We've had some famous people come, and they weren't, you know, and we're not saying that, you know, they were tracked or anything like that, but to come in and give you a message of what you're doing is awesome, what you're doing is great. Peter Jennings, the broadcaster Peter Jennings, he came in. We did have Marilyn Monroe and Mary Jo Kopechne come in the same time. This was a circle that we had done somewhere else, Pat, and you weren't there.
Nobody heard about it.
That was,
yeah, I heard about it.
That was very, very sobering. Very sobering. They didn't need help, but they came in and gave it. Marilyn didn't need help, but Mary Jo did. And it was very sobering.
I have a question. I'm going to interrupt you because I know beyond a shadow of a doubt what people are thinking right now.
Yes.
How did you know that it was those particular individuals?
You got the sense of, actually they just said their name.
Okay.
And you got the, all I can say about Marilyn Monroe was the va-va-voom. You know, that essence of her, of, you know, that she wanted you to know that that was her. But as she talked more, it was a totally different
she's just human
being. Yes, it was a very calm, collective being, a very smart individual, a very got it going on individual. You know, not the and I don't mean to typecast or anything, but, you know, as they put it, you know, the blonde-headed bombshell bimbo kind of thing.
Right.
Okay, she was not like that at all. But in order for her to come through, she gave you that essence, and then because she was kind of there assisting Mary Jo.
Now let me ask. And again, I'm trying to think more along the outsides of what would Joe Average or Jane Average ask.
Right, right.
When these people turn around and they tell you, this is my name, this is who I am, not only is it because they are telling you, but over a period of time, mediums, readers, tarot readers, we have refined a sense of truth.
Yes.
And if I could phrase it this way, we have a bullshit meter that goes off when spirits are not telling us the truth. So it's not that it was just them telling you this and you take it on face value. There's other things within not only yourself but other people in the circle that can say this is actually true or this is actually patently false.
Yeah, I mean, you get the sensation, you know, I get the sensation that goes right up my back. You know, that tingling feeling, that sense of spirit, you know, and what they're saying is, it's truth. You know when something is true for you, and you have that sense, that knowing, and when it hits you, like in your gut or here in the heart center, and it just and it just goes right up the back of your neck or up my back, or the hair on my arm stand up. And a lot of people get that, and it's like it's a validation, it's confirming. No, do we get a bunch of famous people? No. I'm just saying that that happened that night, and or that day, and it was just shocking and sobering.
Well, they're people too. When
Yes, absolutely.
they just, this is me. I'm
Yeah.
not that persona you've been seeing or hearing about or whatever.
Yeah. And I mean, you had to kind of like separate yourself from media stuff, history,
Mm-hmm.
and just let that person talk.
When you have had, and we'll go from one extreme to another, somebody of a celebrity status to someone that Pat has mentioned before, having a soldier that is there,
Yes.
looking for a way home. Do they feel the same to the people in the circle, or does not only every gathering, but does every spiritual individual have a different feeling or a different reason for being there, or something like that?
I would say not, unless we're not, I'm going to use the word clarifying. They come to us so often in fear, and I may get this tidbit, and Stephanie may get that tidbit, and somebody else may get something else. And it's like putting a puzzle together. We have to all work together to be able to really, I'm going to say, reach a conclusion about what this person is asking, or who they really were, or what really happened to them, because sometimes they're not very strong. You got to remember,
You're right, Pat, they're not.
Yeah, they don't know who we are, and they don't know if they can trust us or not. But they're like a moth drawn to that light bulb. I got to go see what this is. So there can be anywhere from, like Steph said, 5 of us to maybe 13, 15 higher. And so everybody will get a little, and we all just start giving our input.
Yeah, I mean that's about the best way you can put it, Pat. I appreciate that. Thank you. Yeah, it's a collective. It's just a collective of everybody there that and you'll have people that that come to Spirit Circle, and they're afraid to say anything because they don't want to feel stupid.
They don't want us to think they're crazy because, oh my gosh, where'd you get that? And that's never been the case. We go, oh, okay.
No. Oh, that's great. Thank you. So you'll get that, and again, like I said before, it helps that person with their confidence level on so many different levels. But yeah, it's just a lot of the spirits that we deal with. It's so fear-based. They feel that they're not worthy. They're afraid because of maybe their religious background, their cultural beliefs, family that they've grown up with, that that they're not allowed to move on. I did a bad thing. I murdered someone, or I did this, or I did that. I was not a very good person. I stole, I drank, you have parents that killed their children in a car accident. They don't feel like they're able to go. It's my fault.
They feel like they have to pay a penance.
Yes.
Exactly. And again, it's about cultural beliefs and religious beliefs. A lot of it, yes.
We're going to get into a little bit more of that. First, we're just going to take a short interlude so that we can grab something to drink. We're only going to be gone for just a couple of minutes. Please stick with us. When we come back, I'm going to ask a few other introspective questions. I might put it that way. Nothing that's horrible, but I've got some things that are on my mind that I'm really curious about. But we'll be back here in just a few moments. Thank you, everybody, for sticking around. We're back here again with Terra Turas. Thank you, everybody that is joining in both in the chat room on Facebook and as well as on YouTube. Once again, I got to stop and say, Lisa Fry, you're awesome. We were kind of stuck. We needed a little over 101 subscribers on our YouTube channel in order to capture the name Terra Turas. And just out of the blue, Lisa stopped and she goes, "So how is that going?" I said, "Well, I think we're kind of stuck a little bit." She goes, "Hold on a minute." A very short period of time later, she comes back. She goes, "So how's it look?" And I went and looked, and it was way over what we needed. I was like, it's just an amazing kind of thing. So for the people that are joining in, this is our first night of being able to do a multi-stream broadcast to both Facebook and YouTube. And I appreciate everybody being here. As a matter of fact, and I'm trying to switch screens so gently so I don't make everything go absolutely haywire because we're doing so well. As a matter of fact, from the YouTube channel this evening, there's a lady by the name of Jennifer V. And I wanted to make sure to get this in here. She goes, "I'm a fairly new practicing medium. And any advice on getting clearer messages?" And I'll let anybody tackle that one. That's just a wide open question.
I would just say practice, practice, practice. Trust.
Yep.
A big thing is trust your knowing. I try to use, a lot of it is, to me, is your imagination. People might poo-poo that, but it is, because I think when you work on that creative side of your mind, that's when those messages come in. So it's kind of like, maybe sit and practice about an apple. You smell the apple. And you close your eyes and you just smell the apple. And you get the aroma of that apple. And you know it. You know what that apple smells like. You're seeing it, but now you know it. And then you just imagine what it's like to bite into the apple, that sensation. And then the taste, what it tastes like. But you're using your mind. But that's your knowing. So you're using your mind to start using that knowing, that intuition, I think, to, get that sense of, is this the truth or is this my BS meter going on?
Yeah, that's really good advice too, because it again, for everybody that is watching or listening, mediums come in all shapes, sizes, forms, differentiations. Some people are born with it. Some people it comes after. Pat, if I'm not mistaken, for you it came after a near-death experience.
First near-death.
And Kelly, you started doing everything when you were how old?
I was 23 when I first had my first real experience. So
these are not things that it's one way and the highway.
Right.
All these things develop at different stages in everybody's life, and there is no right and there is no wrong way to have it happen, as long as you are firm in your convictions of why it is happening. Does that make sense to everybody?
Yes.
Yeah. The thing I suggest to people all the time is don't try to judge it. Don't try to decipher it. I always say the Unity Prayer Protection, the Lord's Prayer, whatever. I always ask, are you of the light? If not, return to the light, be gone. And I'll tell you, the more off the wall it is, what you're picking up, usually the more right you are. And I just say to people, it makes no sense to me. And they go, oh my gosh. And I'm like, this cannot be. And that's how you get into trouble. You start, this can't be right. They're going to think I'm crazy. No, they're not. And a lot of times they relate to it. It's not ours, so it doesn't always make sense to us. It's not supposed to make sense to us.
Kelly, you, and I mean this the politest of sense, you were a late bloomer in some of this. How did you transition from normality to what you're doing now?
I went crazy for a while. I think I have this rule that I tell people when they start coming into this kind of thing, is to always believe the impossible is possible. And just breathe. Take a minute, just breathe, because the things that you think are completely insane, you will find are actually not so crazy. My experiences were different, completely different. It wasn't, I didn't have a near-death experience, but I was very ill about a month or so before my experiences happened. And I had a severe flu where I passed out. And when I passed out, I hit the corner of a door right here in my third eye. And it sounds bizarre. I was fine. I thought I was fine. Ended up going to visit family down in Florida about a month later. And a friend of mine had a spirit board, and then I just connected with it. And from that moment on, it's been automatic writing, it's been visions, my dreams have been more vivid. So I joke all the time that, believe the impossible is possible, because it is. I mean, your perception is always going to be different, but don't be afraid of it either. Never be afraid of it. I think that's when people get naked. Like, they have the negative connotation with mediumship. It's like, oh gosh, I'm going to see this thing standing at the foot of my bed. Yeah. Well, you might. You can always say, hey, I'd rather you not appear that way. Is there another way you can maybe show me a different way, because I have severe anxiety, and if I see you, I'm going to have a heart attack. And in most cases, it will be respected. It's been respected for me for almost 20 years. I've never seen it. I don't want to. I don't want to wake up and see that. I'll have to like be rocking back and forth if I see it, because it's not pretty. Death is not pretty. So, but I think just relaxing, take a deep breath. Don't be afraid of it. The more you're afraid, the less clear the message is. So.
Absolutely, you're exactly right. Yeah, you can't let the fear factor in.
Right.
No, and that's I believe that is probably one of the harder parts for a lot of people, is unlearning some segments of life.
Yes.
And especially if someone is ingrained extremely into a theological way of life, they may have to reconcile what they are having happen versus what they have been taught or what their other belief systems are.
Right.
Now, I will tell everybody, born and raised in the Christian church, was a deacon in the Christian church, a very specific sect of, but I was finally able to meld my spiritual side of life with my theological side of life, and they don't conflict at all. As a matter of fact, they're extremely complementary. Now, for me personally, I will tell everybody, what ranking does it come? Theological first. I am hardcore theological belief. And then the spiritual side of life. Doesn't fall too far right underneath of it. Which brings me to another couple of questions, Stephanie. And these, I'll apologize if these seem hard-hitting, but I'm curious, I think other people might be. We watch crap from Hollywood.
Yes.
I call them bastardized versions of various things. A spirit circle is one of them, to where they have turned it into I don't know what.
Theatrics.
It's a good way to put it.
Yeah.
Really. Mm-hmm. When you work in your circle,
yes,
it is only for the purpose of people's higher good, correct?
Absolutely.
Okay.
Absolutely.
In knowing that, somebody had mentioned it earlier, and I apologize because I'm doing so many things on this end, but they said that spirits will see what you are doing as a bright beacon of light and will be drawn to you and your circle.
Yes.
Do you ever get the other side, the not so nice side, if I can put it that way, that does not want your circle to exist?
No, but I can say that we have had, some spirits that have come in, and again, they were angry, because they were the ones that showed up. We didn't, invade their space, but they came in and they were angry. And a lot of it, that anger is fear. And so, all we can do is just talk with them. And I respect their space. And I ask them, respect ours. If this is not what you want, then you're more certainly welcome to leave this space and let us continue doing what we're doing, but not impede other spirits that want to come forward. I have to show respect, because you know what? They were human once. They were human once. They may not have been a very nice person on this plane, on the earth plane. And a lot of times you'll get that personality on the other side, because that's what they know. That's who they are. They don't understand that divine spark is within, that they are a part of their creator. And, they feel that they're separate, because a lot of cultures have deemed that we are separate from our creator, God, source, whatever you want to say. And so you'll get that connotation of, I'm separating myself from you because you're not, and some of them have gotten very nasty. And I just say, look, this is my space. You're more than welcome to sit outside the circle here and watch, or you can leave. But don't impede anybody else's,
progression. Their progress or their barriers. Respect everybody's space here.
She let them know that we're about love.
Yeah, absolutely. It's all about love.
It was all about love.
Did you ever hold a spirit circle somewhere else other than where you typically do?
Yes.
And what kind of variances did you see or feel?
It was, you get a different, what's really interesting is, like at the library, it seems like you get a bunch of different, it's kind of like history. and that's all I can say is sometimes it's kind of like, a history book, because you might have different eras of people coming through. At other places that I've done it, you might get a little bit of a, how do I want to say this?
Would you say that it also is what happened on that land?
Yeah, we get that too. I mean, yeah, you can get that. I mean, I've actually, I've helped clear a space by doing a spirit circle to help some of those entities or spirits that were there to not interfere with the people that were on that property.
To be able to move on.
To be able to move on and move forward. And said, you can do things so much better from the other side in a more loving space than what you're doing right here.
Right.
And in fact, I just did one here probably about 6 months ago with another medium, and the family has just been very happy because their daughter's not being bothered. Because we're seeing a lot of teenage daughters having issues, and a lot of it is because of Hollywood.
Stephanie, I have a question. Do you find that, in a sense, I've had this experience where when you are communicating with a spirit, that sometimes they're putting themselves to their own purgatory, even if they're not Catholic, and they might have been a terrible being or entity of some sort in life, but then they're coming through and they're like a guardian angel almost, the way that their mood and their presence, they want to do better than what they were when they were alive, because they, whether it's for religious purposes, from their, it's carrying on and after death. I have had that, and I've had it a couple of times, and it, I get very emotional when I think or when I encounter, and I don't talk about it often. This is probably the only platform I will talk about it. But I joke all the time. I have some really friends in like low places type thing, but they're great friends, and I've had some good guardian experiences because of it. And I'm curious if that has a lot to do with how sometimes spirit circle is ran. Also, the entities come through. Are they really looking for, some kind of help, or can I do something to help because, I'm sorry
Absolutely.
that I did.
And in fact, just last month, we just had one where one of the mediums was sitting there next to me, and he says, "There's a horse standing right here." and the guy was standing there. Remember, Pat? It's right there next to you. And the girl says, "No, I didn't have a horse." And I looked over, and there was a guy holding the horse, and his name is Tom.
Yeah.
And it was the strangest thing, because earlier that day, before Spirit Circle, I was turning into the parking lot to go into the building earlier, and I saw this guy. It was a knight on a horse, and it said Guardian on the side of this truck.
Yeah.
And I thought, why would somebody name that Guardian, that trucking company Guardian, when it's a knight on a horse? Why don't you call it Knight or something, or Night Horse or something like that? I don't know, just. But the funny thing of it is Tom rode in on that horse because he's a guardian of the land that's there. And that's kind of how he was coming to me earlier by showing me that truck with that. And that's what he was. I mean, he just more or less said, I'm here, I don't need help, but I'm going to be a guardian. So I kind of look forward to seeing Tom, next month.
And what's funny, guys, is we all have those moments. And if you could have seen her face, which was that truck. I saw that truck when I was born, and it was like, yes, yeah, hey. It was just kind of comical the way it came.
It was validating.
Yeah, it was just interesting. But
I will tell you some of the really wow factors. Is there is a entity that comes in, and she's very, and I'm going to say she presents herself as a she. She calls herself Celestine, and she's very tall. She's very Amazonian-like. The only thing I can say. She's dressed in green, and she is very much like a healer, guardian of our circle. She doesn't come all the time, but she came in, last month? She was there last month. And we're in a new place, and she was there to bless each and every one of us there. And actually gave us a little attunements with the, and I'm just going to say it, with the infinity sign over our heads. And it was just, it's unbelievable. And she has come in before and done healings on people there that didn't realize they needed a healing, but she was there and did a healing for them.
And sometimes it's just like when you've worked as a medium or a psychic, and you have those readings, those times that it's taken something out of you, but you don't realize how much is taken out of you. And the first time she came, I'm like, okay. But, I mean, you actually feel it when she goes past and bestows these blessings or these healings. And it's like, whoa. Because you can see it happening to others. But when she gets to you and she does, you're like, oh, okay. And it's just interesting. I was just going to ask you about her because she just popped into my head. And it's just so interesting when this happens. And sometimes, and I don't know why, I'm thinking about the little girl that fell on her head in the creek, slipped and fell in the creek and hit her head on the stone. I don't know. Sometimes we have children come to us and just want to know, where's my mommy and daddy? What happened? Why can't I find them or whatever? And yeah, it's just interesting. And when you're starting out, I just always tell Spirit, even to this day, make my message clear, concise, complete. And if you can, give me confirmation so that I know I'm not nearly as crazy as I keep going around the bend this time. You really got to be around the bend,
And we have certain ones that, that are there that children gravitate to them. Mm-hmm. I mean, it's just children go to them. Mm-hmm. That they just have that affinity about children and they just go to them. And, we help them. We call their mom and dads in, or grandpas or grandmas, and they give us names and we'll welcome them to come and, sit with their grandchildren or child, and they help them, take them where they go. And a lot of it, too, especially with children, it's like it's something usually pretty tragic or something sudden or an impact, something that just,
some accident.
It's just an accident and they're just there.
There's been and I've been kind of keeping up with the chat room here on the YouTube side right now. A gentleman by the name of Dave has been asking more about shadow people. And we're going to need to do a complete show about shadow people, the not so nice side of life and things like that. We'll have to readdress that here sometime fairly soon. Because he's asking about them, and there's just, unfortunately, there's not enough time in our show yet this evening. Right. Because believe it or not, we have already hit our 1 hour mark. You believe this?
Wow. No.
We start talking and we relate these things, and it just, time goes by like there's no tomorrow. So what I'm going to do in order for us to close our show out this evening, first, Stephanie, I do want to know, what is the name of your shop, where is it located, and what will you be doing?
It is called The Healing Brew. We're at 1678 Merriman Road in Akron. We're going to be doing a soft opening the 19th of August. That's where I hold Spirit Circle there. The third Tuesday of every month, so August 20th, we will be having a Spirit Circle from 7 until 9. I do a love donation of $10, just so we can keep the lights on, pay the rent. And then what I do at the end of the year, and I've always done this, so what I do at the end of the year, when I was doing it at the library, it was all just done by love donation, whoever wanted to pay or what. So at the end of the year, I would split the money up, depending on how much I had. I would split the money up, and I would give some back to the library because they gave us a room for free. And I would split it between a women and children's shelter in Akron, or to an animal rescue, or to the grief center. I never kept the money. It's kind of, to me, it was like, spirit helping spirit, so we help the spirit of humanity by giving back to the community.
And that's one thing that I know is important for a lot of people. They think, or they are making assumptions that a lot of readers, and we all have our bad apples in any job, any genre. It doesn't matter where you go, there are bad people. But most of us try to keep all of this flowing back into the people, the community, the people that we work with, the people we love. That's right. Always important. But this evening, just to round things out, I'm going to ask Kelly, if you had one thing that you wanted to talk about or say to people for this evening's topic, what would you tell them?
I would just say to, if you're venturing into these types of things, to go in with an open mind, so that, you can just let the things that are supposed to happen.
But that's a very good way to put it, too. And it is, that's the part of trust that we have to build, is being able to trust what we see, what we hear. Otherwise, an open mind isn't going to do any good.
Right.
Stephanie, in closing, what would you tell people this evening?
Basically about what Kelly said, it's really about trusting yourself. Believing in yourself, trust your knowing, trust your gut instinct. As my grandma always said, both my grandmas, you just trust your gut instinct. And, when you can trust that, and that's part of that knowing, then you're in a good place when you trust yourself.
Mm-hmm.
And to, that open-mindedness, that's kind of like the broad brush, but, Kelly's exactly right. You just have to trust yourself. Mm-hmm. My pension is, young people. We're starting to see more and more young people come forward. And I would really like to see, I would really like to help younger people trust that and understand that. And again, we talked about the bastardization of Hollywood and, the fear factor. I can't tell you, I've had so many young ladies and young gentlemen come forward and go, there's this thing in my room and, it's this and it's that. And so we have a discussion to get them to trust themselves and to trust what's going on. And 9 times out of 10, whatever was in their room, they're aware. They don't really realize that they have an awareness about them. And that spirit is trying to talk to them. Mm-hmm. And they're like, scared to death. It's a fear thing. So, I've been working with a couple young ladies, and it's helped out tremendously. That they're learning to trust those feelings. And
it's important because if they don't begin to understand what they're doing or why or have that trust, they're only going to have further problems later on down the road. Absolutely. Pat, how are you, dear?
Always asked to speak only to the highest and best of the light. Prayer of protection. Thank your angels and guides for being with you. Clear, concise, complete. And you'll just know. People say, how do you know? The attitude of gratitude. Just, you know what you know, whether you realize it or not. You just know it. And you just have to say, okay, clear, concise, complete. And when the other person understands, it will help you to understand. It's not for us again. I used to have to go back a year when I would read for someone so I could make sure I was connecting to them before I could tell them anything about the future. And, so my 15-minute, 20-minute reading would turn into half hour, 45 minutes because I spent all that time just trying to prove to myself I really am connecting with this person. So just an attitude of gratitude. Be prayerful, be respectful, please. I know you guys get tired of hearing me say that. Be respectful. Be respectful.
It's true.
And that's probably one of the biggest ones that I could think of as well. Well, folks, we have hit our time limit that we kind of self-impose. It has been awesome. No major malfunctions, which I'm really happy about. Again, for all the people that have been able to join us both in the Facebook chat room, as well as for the people that I've been chatting with in the YouTube chat room, thank you for joining us this evening. For the people that are listening on a podcast, remember, you can find us on Facebook at /Terra Turas. You can find us on YouTube. Thankfully now, we have our YouTube channel name. Just look for Terra Turas and you'll find our channel. You can also find us on our own website at www.terraturas.com. And you'll be able to see we've got about 9 or 10, I believe we're up to 10 different podcast capability sites. So there are multiple ways for everybody to catch up. We're going to be adding a little bit more content as we go along. After our show, we're going to stop and create something new. It's not going to be live to the world until Monday, but we're going to take another hour after the show, and it's going to be called The After Show, to where we're going to sit down and just have a wide open discussion, and some of the other people from the panel might join us, and we're looking forward to being able to present that both on the video side as well as the audio side. But for everybody that has been here this evening, thank you so much. Ladies, it has been fantastic. I learned quite a bit. I learned a lot. Pat, yeah, you go ahead and laugh. You know that I'm functionally.
Way to go, girls. Way to go.
I am functionally illiterate. See, I wore a red shirt in case I blushed that you wouldn't be able to tell this evening. So, Pat.
Yeah, we can
Yeah, we see blushes.
Until next week, folks, thank you for joining us on Terra Turas. I hope that everybody has a great weekend, and we'll see you again next time.
Bye.